Gymnastics can be traced to exercise in ancient Greece in Sparta and Athens. That exercise, for that time, was documented by Philostratus' work Gymnastics. Exercise in the gymnasium in later dates prepared men for war. In ancient Greece, physical fitness was a highly valued attribute in both men and women. It wasn't until after the Romans conquered Greece in 146 BC that gymnastics became more formalized and used to train men in warfare. Based on Philostratus' claim that gymnastics is a form of wisdom comparable to philosophy, poetry, music, geometry, and astronomy, Athens combined this more physical training with the education of the mind. At the Palestra, a physical education training center, the discipline of educating the body and educating the mind were combined, allowing for a form of gymnastics that was more aesthetic and individual and which left behind the form that focused on strictness, discipline, the emphasis on defeating records, and focus on strength. Don Francisco Amoros y Undiano was born on February 19, 1770 in Valencia and died on August 8, 1848 in Paris. He was a Spanish colonel and the first person to introduce educative gymnastics in France. The German Friedrich Ludwig John started the German gymnastics movement in 1811, which led to the invention of the parallel bars, rings, high bar, the pommel horse, and the vault horse. Germans Charles Beck and Charles Follen and American John Neal brought the first wave of gymnastics to the United States in the 1820s. Beck opened the first gymnasium in the U.S. in 1825 at the Round Hill School in Northampton, Massachusetts. Follen opened the first college gymnasium and the first public gymnasium in the U.S. in 1826 at Harvard College and Boston, Massachusetts, respectively. Neal was the first American to open a public gymnasium in the U.S. in Portland, Maine in 1827. He also documented and promoted these early efforts in the American Journal of Education and the Yankee, helping to establish the American branch of the movement. The Federation of International Gymnastics was founded in Liege in 1881. By the end of the 19th century, men's gymnastics competition was popular enough to be included in the first modern Olympic Games in 1896. From then on until the early 1950s, both national and international competitions involved a changing variety of exercises gathered under the rubrics gymnastics that included, for example, synchronized team floor, calisthenics, rope climbing, high jumping, running, and horizontal ladder. During the 1920s, women organized and participated in gymnastics events. The first women's Olympic competition was limited only involving asynchronized calisthenics and track and field. These games were held in 1928 in Amsterdam. By 1954, Olympic Games apparatus and events for both men and women had been standardized in modern formal and uniform grading structures, including a point system from 1 to 15. Had been agreed upon. At this time, Soviet gymnasts astounded the world with highly disciplined and difficult performances, setting a precedent that continues. Television was helped publicize and initiate a modern age of gymnastics. Both men's and women's gymnastics now attract considerable international interest, and excellent gymnasts can be found on every continent. Many of the world's greatest gymnasts have come from Eastern Europe. Larisa Latinina of Ukraine, later the coach of the Soviet Union team, is widely considered the greatest female gymnast of all time. She was the all-around champion in two Olympics, 1956 and 1960, and the two World Championships in the year 1958 and 1962. No other gymnast has achieved this distinction. In the 1970s, a major change had occurred in women's gymnastics as younger and younger girls began competing in events. Russian gymnast Olga Korbut and the Romanian Nadia Comaneci were both young teens during their Olympic triumphs. The presence of a preponderance of teenage girls in international gymnastics competition from the late 1970s and into the 21st century was directly related to the Corbett-Komanisi phenomenon. Many of these younger gymnasts, especially those who trained long hours for competition, had not yet reached menarche, and some used doping techniques to delay the onset of physical maturation and its resulting changes to a gymnast's center of gravity and weight. Coaching these youngsters posed difficulties since many were lured from or pushed by their families to train in unfamiliar surroundings. By 2000, the age requirement for Olympic participants in gymnastics had been raised to 16 to offset some of these problems. In men's gymnastics, the greatest champions were Viktor Chukarin of the Soviet team and Takato Sawao of Japan, each two-time Olympic all-around champions, Chukarin in 1952 and 1956, Sawao in 1968 and 1972, along with Vitaly Sherbo of Belarus, an Olympic 1992 and World 1993 all-around champion. The events in rhythmic gymnastics are named for the hand apparatus employed by the gymnast: rope, hoop, ball, clubs, and ribbon. Medals are awarded at the Olympics and World Championships for team, group, all-around, and individual events. Competition. Competitive events for women in artistic gymnastics. First, vault. In the vaulting events, gymnasts sprint down a 25 meters or 82 feet runway to take off onto a vault board or perform a round-off or handspring entry onto a vault board, to land momentarily inverted on the hands on the vaulting horse or vaulting table, pre-flight segment, then propel themselves forward or backward off that platform to a two-phased landing, post-flight segment. Every gymnast starts at a different point of the vault runway depending on their height and strength. The post-flight segment may include one or more multiple saltos or twisting movements. A round-off entry vault, called a Yurchenko, in a commonly performed vault in the higher levels in gymnastics. When performing a Yurchenko, gymnasts round off so their hands are on the runway while their feet land on the vault board. From the round-off position, the gymnast travels backward so that the hands land on the vaulting table. The gymnast then blocks off the vaulting platform into various twisting and or somersaulting combinations. The post-flight segment brings the gymnast to her feet. Less difficult vaults include takeoff from the vault board with both feet at the same time and either doing a front handspring or round off into the vaulting board. Second, the uneven bars. On the uneven bars, the gymnast performs a timed routine on two parallel horizontal bars set at different heights. These bars are made of fiberglass covered in wood laminate to prevent them from breaking. In the past, bars were made of wood, but the bars were prone to breaking, providing an incentive to switch to newer technologies. The width and height of the bars may be adjusted to the size needed by individual gymnasts. In the past, the uneven parallel bars were closer together. The bars had been moved increasingly farther apart, allowing gymnasts to perform swinging, circling, transitional, and release moves that may pass over, under, and between two bars. At the elite level, movements must pass through the handstand. Gymnasts often mount the uneven bars using a springboard or a small mat. Gymnasts may use chalk and grips when performing this event. The chalk helps take the moisture out of gymnasts' hand to decrease friction and prevent rips. Dowel grips help gymnasts grip the bar. Third, balance beam. The gymnast performs a choreographed routine of up to 90 seconds in length, consisting of leaps, acrobatic skills, somersaults, turns, and dance elements on a padded beam. The beam is 125 centimeters, 4 feet and 1 inch from the ground, 5 meters or 16 feet and 5 inches long, and 10.16 centimeters or 4 inches wide. This stationary object can also be adjusted to be raised higher or lower. The event requires balance, flexibility, grace, poise, and strength. Floor. The event in gymnastics performed on the floor is called floor exercise. The English abbreviation for the event in gymnastics scoring is FX. In the past, the floor exercise event was executed on the bare floor or mats such as wrestling mats. The floor event now occurs on a carpeted 12 meters and 12 meters square, usually consisting of hard foam over a layer of plywood, which is supported by springs generally called a spring floor. This provides a firm surface that provides extra bounce or spring when compressed, allowing gymnasts to achieve greater height and a softer landing after the composed skill. Gymnasts perform a choreographed routine for up to 90 seconds in the floor exercise event. Depending on the level, the gymnast may choose their own routine. However, recently, the levels have switched. Now, levels 6 to 10 are optional levels and they get to have a custom routines made. In the optional levels 6 to 10, there are skill requirements for the routine, but the athlete is able to pick her own music without any words. The routine should consist of tumbling passes, series of jumps, leaps, dance elements, acrobatic skills and turns, or pivots on one foot. A gymnast can perform up to 4 tumbling passes, each of which usually includes at least one flight element without hand support. Each level of gymnastics requires the athlete to perform a different number of tumbling passes. In level 7, in the United States, a gymnast is required to do 2 to 3, and in levels 8 to 10, at least 3 to 4 tumbling passes are required. Competitive events for men, artistic gymnastics. First, floor. Male gymnasts also perform on a 12-meter and 12-meter spring floor. A series of tumbling passes are performed to demonstrate flexibility, strength, and balance. Strength skills include circle, scales, and press handstands. Men's floor routines usually have multiple passes that have a total between 60 to 70 seconds and are performed without music. Unlike the women's event, rules requires that male gymnasts touch the corner of the floor at least once during their routine. Second, pommel horse. A typical pommel horse exercise involves both single leg and double leg work. Single leg skills are generally found in the form of scissors, an element often done on the pommels. Double leg work, however, is the main staple of this event. The gymnast swings both legs in a circular motion and performs such skills on all parts of the apparatus. To make the exercise more challenging, gymnasts will often include variations on a typical circling skill by turning or by straightening their legs. Routines end when the gymnast performs a dismount, either by swinging his body over the horse or landing after a handstand. Third, steel rings. The rings are suspended on wire cables from a point 5.75 meters from the floor. The gymnasts must perform a routine demonstrating balance, strength, power, and dynamic motion while preventing the rings themselves from swinging. At least one static strength move is required, but some gymnasts may include 2 or 3. A routine ends with a dismount. Vault. Gymnasts sprint down a runway which is a maximum of 25 meters in length before hurdling into a springboard. The gymnast is allowed to choose where they start on the runway. The body position is maintained while punching the vaulting platform. The gymnast then rotates to a standing position. In advanced gymnastics, multiple twists and somersaults may be added before landing. Successful vaults depend on the speed of the run, the length of the hurdle, the power the gymnast generates from the legs and shoulder girdle, the kinesthetic awareness in the air, how well they stack the landing, and the speed of rotation in the case of more difficult and complex vaults. Parallel bars. Men perform on two bars executing a series of swings, balances, and releases that require great strength and coordination. The width between the bars is adjustable depending upon the actual needs of the gymnast and usually 2 meters high. Horizontal bars. A 2.8 cm thick steel or fiberglass bar raised 2.5 meters above the landing area is all the gymnast has to hold onto as he performs giant swings or giant releases, skills, twists, and changes of direction. By using all of the momentum from giants and then releasing at the proper point, enough height can be achieved for spectacular dismounts, such as a triple back salto. Leather grips are usually used to help maintain a grip on the bar. As with women, male gymnasts are also judged on all of their events including their execution, degree of difficulty, and overall presentation skills. Rhythmic gymnastics. Ball. The ball is made of either rubber or synthetic material, provided it possesses the same elasticity as rubber. It is from 18 to 20 cm in diameter and must have a minimum weight of 400 grams. The ball can be of any color and should rest on the gymnast's hand, not the wrist. Fundamental elements of a ball routine include throwing, bouncing, and rolling. The gymnast must use both hands and work on the whole floor area while showing continuous flowing movement. The ball is to emphasize the gymnast's flowing lines and body difficulty. Hoop. A hoop is an apparatus in rhythmic gymnastics and may be made of plastic or wood, provided that it retains its shape during the routine. The interior diameter is from 51 to 90 cm and the hoop must weigh in a minimum of 300 grams. The hoop may be of natural color or be part of fully covered by one or several colors, and it may be covered with adhesive tape either of the same or different colors as the hoop. Fundamental requirements of a hoop routine include rotation around the hand or body and rolling, as well as swings, circles, throws, and passes through and over the hoop. The routines in hoop involve mastery in both apparatus handling and body difficulties like leaps, jumps, and pivots. Ribbon. The ribbon is made of satin or another similar material of any color and may be multicolored as well as have designs on it. The ribbon itself must be at least 35 grams in width and for senior category a minimum length of 6 meters. The ribbon must be in one piece. The end that is attached to the stick is doubled for a maximum of 1 meter. This is stitched down both sides. At the top, a very thin reinforcement or rows of machine stitching for a maximum length of 5 meters is authorized. This extremity may end in a strap or have an eyelet to permit attaching the ribbon. The ribbon is fixed to the stick by means of a supple attachment such as thread, nylon cord, or a series of articulated rings. The attachment has a maximum length of 7 centimeters, not counting the strap of metal ring at the end of the stick where it will be fastened. Compulsory elements for the ribbon include flicks, circles, snakes, and spirals and throws. It requires a high degree of coordination to form the spirals and circles as any knots which may accidentally form in the ribbon as penalized. During a ribbon routine, large, smooth, and flowing movements are looked for. Clubs. Multi-piece clubs are the most popular clubs. The club is built along an internal rod, providing a base on which a handle made of polyurethane plastic is wrapped, providing an airspace between it and the internal rod. The airspace provides flex, cushioning impact, making the club softer on the hands. Foam ends and knobs further cushion the club. Multi-piece clubs are made both a thin European style or larger bodied American styles and in various lengths generally ranging from 19 to 21 inches. The handles and bodies are typically wrapped in decorative plastics and tapes. The skills involved are apparatus, mastery, and body elements. Clubs are thrown from alternate hands. Each passes underneath the clubs and is caught in the opposite hand to the one from which it was thrown. At its simplest, each club rotates once per throw, the handle moving down and away from the throwing hand at first. However, double and triple spins are frequently performed, allowing the club to be thrown higher for more advanced patterns and to allow tricks such as 360s to be performed underneath rope. This apparatus may be made of hemp or a synthetic material which retains the qualities of lightness and suppleness. Its length is in proportion to the size of the gymnast. The rope should, when held down by the feet, reach both of the gymnast's armpits. One or two knots at each end are for keeping hold of the rope while doing the routine. At the ends, an anti-slip material, either colored or neutral, may cover a maximum of 10 centimeters. The rope must be colored, either all or partially, and may either of a uniform diameter or be progressively thicker in the center provided that its thickening is of the same material as the rope. The fundamental requirements of a rope routine include leaps and skipping. Other elements include swings, throws, circles, rotations, and figures of 8. In 2011, the FIG decided to remove the use of rope from the program of senior individual competitions. It is still used in junior competition and occasionally on the program for senior group competition.